Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I still tell people about the time that Bonnie hypnotized me live during a podcast. And I didn't think it could be done. I know you're legit, but I didn't know if in a short period of time it could happen. By the way, we're talking with Bonnie Slykhuis, who is the owner of Holistic Health and Wellness, H3Hypnosis. And yeah, so I'm sitting here a couple of podcasts ago and we kind of just threw it out there. You know, why don't you hypnotize me? Can you do it? And we had a short period of time and you just started talking and, you know, I just kind of zoned out. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to go there. And I just felt myself getting deeper and deeper into it. And I will never forget the visual of me in a field of flowers and then grass. I still have it, still in my head. And I felt myself checking out. It was the best, most relaxing afternoon I've had in a long time. But, you know, a testament to what you do, Bonnie, that you, even virtually, you can hypnotize people. And we didn't even go for a goal. It wasn't like, you know, stop smoking or, you know, eating issues, whatever it might be. It was just like, let's see if we can get you there. You knew it was going to happen. But for me, I didn't know. So congratulations on hypnotizing me. And there's my testimonial for you. It's just amazing how you do that. Does it amaze you? Does it amaze you too?
You know, I just remember when I first started doing this, I remember the first time I ever hypnotized somebody and I, you know, just almost wanted to jump up and down because you don't believe it'll happen at first. And then when it really does, it's just like, wow, that was way easier than I thought. But you were a good subject because you just allowed it to happen. We get some people that fight it, or they're always trying to analyze, what am I doing? What are they going to do to me? Am I supposed to feel this way? Am I supposed to experience something different? But if you just allow yourself just to go and just drift away. I had a client in here the other day that just said, you know, I felt like I was just on the verge. And I said, on the verge of just like drifting off and going deeper and, you know, like falling off a cliff or something. And she's like, yeah. I said, just let it go. I said, that's the point where you just got to let it go. So, and it's hard to explain that to people, what it's like just to kind of let your mind just let go.
Oh, I get it. Now I get it because I was at that point at the very beginning and I am skeptical by nature. So as I'm drifting off, I'm like, well, what's happening next? How's this working? And then all of a sudden those thoughts started slowing down.
Yeah.
To allow me to get to where
and you just don't care.
Yeah. And it wasn't like I was completely zoned out. And that's what we've learned in the past from talking to you about hypnosis, that you're there. It's just, you're in a, you know, kind of a trance, a little meditative state, but you're not going to do something you don't want to do. And I think that's the misconception a lot of people have, thinking that you're going to control their mind and make them bark like a dog and do all these crazy things. No. You got to want it. You got to want it, right?
Right. You know, and everybody's experience is a little different. We do have people that come in and they're a little more difficult to put under, again, because they're always wondering, am I doing this right? Should I be doing this? You know, thinking that. So we'll put in suggestions about if you think you're doing this right, you absolutely are. So just let that thought go. And sometimes we'll use a technique where we'll keep their mind busy by doing it. So one of the things I have them do is I make them paint a fence very carefully. And they have to paint the fence while I talk to them. And they just get to ignore what I say because they're busy painting the fence. And basically what we're trying to do is to get that left brain occupied so that the right brain can kind of take over, and which is your creative side. Sometimes we'll have them focus on writing the alphabet backwards on a chalkboard, which, think about that. Or sometimes we'll even say, write the alphabet backwards on a chalkboard with your opposite hand. So just something else to get them to think about so you can bypass that critical thinking.
Well, if it was me, the right side of my brain would say, I'm going to hire somebody to paint the fence because that's really boring. I don't like doing that.
Yeah, we tell them you have to alternate colors while you're painting the fence. There's 26 pickets in the fence. And yeah, because otherwise they're going to keep coming back and trying to critique what you're doing.
Well, you nailed it right there because it's all about the detail. And that's what I realized when I saw myself in that field of flowers. and then just randomly this beautiful cut grass next to it, and I'm laying in it, and I'm just like a dog, you know, with his feet up, like, oh, this is great, I love it. We're getting instant feedback.
Okay.
Important question, actually. You can always reach us, instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. And this is from Miranda, and she's checking in from Florida. She says, my brother has addiction issues. Can hypnosis help with that?
Yes, addictions. I'm not extremely versed in addictions, but hypnosis can help with addictions, maybe help with some of the cravings and things like that. And it really kind of depends on what they're addicted to. And so I belong to a network of hypnotists from all over the world, and there's a lot of them that's what they specialize in, is addictions. But yeah, it can help because, again, you're addressing some of those triggers. And you don't want people to go off cold turkey sometimes, depending on what it is, because then they can have other effects. So that's not what I specialize in. So, but I do know for a fact that it can help with that. I mean, smoking is an addiction, alcohol is an addiction, but the thing is, you have to want to quit as well. Because I had somebody that wanted to quit drinking, and I said, well, they said, no, I just want to cut down. Okay, so what's cut down? So trying to define that, but yet they were still going through all the habits of, I'm going out with my friends, I'm going out a couple times a week, I'm stopping at the store every night to pick up alcohol. So they weren't willing to change their habits. So you got to work with it. It just doesn't happen magically.
And I'm sure a lot of people are unaware of that, thinking that, okay, well, I can just go for hypnosis and stop smoking. But to your point, you really got to want it. It's got to come from within. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're not getting in.
Yeah, it's kind of like you take Chantix or something else. You know, it can help you, but, you know, you have to want it.
So yes. One of the other things that you offer within your practice of holistic health is also Reiki sessions, and you can do that virtually?
Yes, I have 2 people that can do Reiki sessions virtually, and it does work. I've had, my mom has experienced virtual Reiki sessions. She's going through some chemotherapy right now. So I had somebody do Reiki on her, and I could tell the difference because I'm staying with her right now. Just she goes through these treatments and things. So Reiki sessions, you don't have to be physically in the room with the person. What they do is it's all energy, and energy can transcend time and space. So yeah, it can be done. Different people like the Reiki sessions so that they don't have to come in personally, and the person just visualizes them in their space. And I don't know all the details about it, but yes.
How did you get into this whole holistic arena? How did this begin? How did the passion come out to help people like this?
You know, it's crazy because in a million years, I would never dream that I'd be doing what I'm doing now. Actually, about 12, 13 years ago, my younger sister and I had a conversation, and I always like to take classes to just something I'm interested in. And we got to talking one day, and she said she was interested in hypnosis. And I said, well, that's interesting because I am too. And so we talked about it that day, and I'm like, well, let's go do it. So we looked for a little bit to find a class where we could go get certified in hypnosis. And at the time, it was difficult because, you know, there were these places, but you had to have a PhD in psychology or something like that. I'm like, no, I'm not going back to college just to learn hypnosis. So she found the Sylvia Browne Hypnosis Training Center out in California. And Sylvia Browne, what you don't know is that she did hypnosis for many, many years and opened a school out there in California. Everybody knows her as the great psychic, but she used hypnosis, and
and she has been a mentor to a lot of very successful, famous psychics who I'm connected with. And as soon as you mention that name, it can't be the same Sylvia. I didn't know that she did hypnosis. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think back in the 70s or something, she actually did that. The focus of that training was certification, but the emphasis was on past life regression. So that's why we first learned to do past life regression, because what people don't know is that there was a lot of doctors that would call her and say, hey, I got a patient. We have no medical idea of what's wrong with this person.
Wow.
To do a past life regression on them to help them heal. And so she has a book out there. It's called Past Lives, Future Healing. And it's a good book. It's just stories about people that she treated. And what they also don't realize is that she spent her first staff, she sent them out to try and validate what came through in past life regressions. That was their job. So, and they were able to do that in a lot of cases.
Amazing. Amazing that doctors called on her when they were lost. And I want to learn more about that. So she did a past life regression on the patients and then discovered, I guess, how they got to where they are at this point in terms of their medical condition. Yeah,
because, you know, you carry cell memory, past life memory, it carries over. So for an example, there was a guy in the class that we were going through the class with. And as we were learning this, we were practicing on each other. So one evening after class, we wanted to practice. So we put him under, and he went back to a past life where he was speared in the back. And one thing about, we talked about this before, but past life, it's very, very detailed. And it's like you are there. Now, if you were making this up, you would not feel the emotions. You would not see the details, kind of like you in the garden. You get all of the senses coming in. And it is very emotional and very, I don't even know how to describe it. But anyway, we went back to class the next day because you get people to release anything that they've carried over that's negative and bring forth any talents. But in the class the next day, right before class, he came up and he's like, I have something. You're going to think I'm weird, you know, and then I'm crazy. And I'm like, what's that? And he said, you know, and he was like in his 50s. And he said, I've always, my entire life, had this spot in my back that always hurt. And
wow.
He's like, after that regression, he's like, this is the first time in my entire life it hasn't hurt. And it was the exact spot in that past life regression where he had been speared.
I got nothing. That's amazing. And I wish we could do past life regressions during a podcast, but I know last time we talked about it that it's more detailed. Can you do it virtually?
Takes longer.
I can't recall. Is it something you can do, or?
Technically you could do it virtually. I prefer not to because it is a much more involved session, and I like to record people. I like to do audio with them, but my preference is just to do it in person because it is anywhere from 2.5 to 4 hours. So that'd be a long time to be online, in my opinion. And you know, sometimes people go under, and like particularly in a bad past life, they might have what we call an abreaction. So let's just say they get really emotional or just overwhelmed, and it might be with grief, hysteria, or whatever. I want to be there, have them in front of me to be able to deal with that. So that, because emotions always do come through, and there's things we can do to remove them from that emotion and still see what's going on and understand it. But that'd be a little harder to do virtually.
Fair enough. When you do a past life regression, how far do you go back and how do you go back? Because we talked before how there's different scenarios within somebody's past life, and there could be a number of them. Do you just go back and see what you get, or do you focus on one particular regression? How does that work?
So usually when people come in, I interview them because I want to find out why they're interested in this and what they're dealing with in their current life. And I always say the mind takes you where you need to go to deal with whatever you're dealing with or whatever you're here for today. And it always amazes me. I'll usually take them to 1 to 3 past lives, and there's always a common theme based on something they're dealing with in their current life at the current time. So to get them back there, I'll do like a regular induction, take them on a little mind journey, kind of like yours, but longer. And then sometimes I'll take them down a tunnel, like a train station, and then the doors open and you're in another place and time. Sometimes they're in a hallway and they get to pick the door that calls to them. It might be a different color. As they walk through the door, they enter that place in time. You might take them on a cloud and they drift out into outer space and then come back down to this new place in time. And it's relevant to the answers that they want. Because also I have people, depending on whether they want the longer session or the shorter, they come in with a list of questions that they want answer to. It might be, what's my purpose in life? What is, why do my siblings and I not get along? Or why do I keep following this pattern? It could be anything. So usually the past life relates to answering that question.
So do I have this right? That if they're dealing with something right now, they will help you go back to what that was in their past life?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sort of like when you hypnotize somebody and they got to want it. You know, they have to allow you to do it. Okay. Interesting.
But they don't,
I'm sorry.
They don't ever know where they're going to go until they end up there, because they might be a peasant somewhere. And, not everybody's Cleopatra and somebody famous. Most of us were just common people. We were rich, we were poor, we were male, we were female, we were mean, we were kind. It's because it's learning. It's like a school. So every life has a lesson, and there's nothing to be ashamed of or afraid of, because some people say, well, I don't want to go back to a past life because I'm worried about what I did. Well, we've all done it at some point in some time, but it was a lesson that had to be learned. So
based on that, have you ever done a past life regression and then somebody had royalty in their past life or something big, like not just the common folk? Anything stand out?
Let's see, I'm trying to remember. I did a past life and I was like, I remember it very vividly. And it was Atlantean times, and I didn't know anything about Atlantis at that time, but I could describe the layout. And it's interesting because just recently, in past years, they've shown like the layout of, the community and all that. And it's like, that's what I saw.
Wow.
But I was like royalty in that time, but let's just say it was a very, very unhappy life because I was married to a king who didn't care. And he just wanted an heir and all of that kind of stuff. But for other people, there would be nobody famous that you would recall, but they were royalty in their own sense. It might have been in England or someplace else. And I have had people go and find information about their past life, find names, find a location, find towns and cities and things like that they didn't have any knowledge of before, but they have knowledge now. And also there's a very good book, Ian Stevenson. It's called Old Souls. And it's about Ian Stevenson. He did the most past life studies out there, but he actually went to communities, because the United States doesn't embrace this, but other countries do. And so he went to other countries and actually did research, scientific research about past lives, and related it to people, birthmarks he's linked them to past life trauma, where people were shot or killed, and they remember, they'll have kids that remember names and they're like, you're not my family, this is my family. And who's it? They'll name the people in the family and they've never met them before. So there's a lot of research out there.
And it's interesting, like you took this person back. Oh, no, wait, actually you went back and then, in a relationship that wasn't the greatest relationship, but do people say, or do you feel when you go back there, it's like, that's what I put up with? Really? That's what my life was like, back then? But that could hold the key to what you're dealing with now in relationships. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. We have another question. This one pertains to hypnosis. This is from Miranda in Windsor, Connecticut. She says, has anyone ever said something revealing while hypnotized?
They say a lot of things while they're hypnotized. and I'm not sure what you mean about revealing. It's something that they normally wouldn't say to anyone. Let's just say they're more relaxed and less filtered.
Okay.
So they might reveal.
Nothing really. Okay. So let's look at it this way. In the word revealed, let's think of it as like something super juicy, like, whoa, really? I'm guessing by the way you're answering
I can't
that
say
nothing like that, but just maybe,
no.
They might pass
Nothing.
a comment, my husband's a pain in the butt, unfiltered.
Right.
Like that.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Nothing that they would wake up and feel embarrassed about, or like,
Okay.
wow, I can't believe I said that. And I can't recall anything. And a lot of times too, when you're in hypnosis, and we're not talking about past life, but things come through in metaphors. You see things in metaphors. So, they might get a message in a different way. So usually when I take people through hypnosis, some people come in and they treat it like a massage, just kind of like you. I just want to escape for a while and just.
I love it. Yeah, I get it.
So yeah,
totally. Yeah, it's like a massage. When you walk out, you just feel, that was really good. I feel relaxed. This is just kind of a reset, for my week, my day, my month, whatever it might be. And I think if you did a session with somebody and they revealed something that was uber scintillating, very juicy, you'd remember it. It's funny, we mentioned Cynthia Brown and psychics before, and I remember being at a show with a psychic, good one, very credible, and he asked, do you want me to say this? And they were like, yeah, whole audience around there. It's like, all right, well, your dad is coming through and he wants to thank you for burying him with what you did. And they're like, okay. And I'm going to say his collection of Playboy magazines. And it was spot on. And it was accurate. And everybody did what you did in the audience, like, whoop, whoa, oh, okay, no problem. Hey, he's happy. Yeah. He's happy. But yeah, you never know what's going to come through with a psychic reading or what you do in terms of hypnosis and past life regression. I find, and I'm just skimming the surface of it now, but past life regression, wow, like very exciting what you can learn, and you back it up with the facts and figures. If I would not know anything about Atlantis, the only thing I know is there's a hotel in the Bahamas called Atlantis, and there once.
Right.
That's all I know. That's it. I don't know. King Triton, from Little Mermaid. I don't know. But there was detail of the person that got taken back. Or did you go to Atlantis? Was it you from back? Yeah, it was you.
I went to Atlantis. I've had other people go to Atlantis too, and Lemuria and some of those ancient places. And a lot of times I'll try to get them to say a place or a time period, but a lot of times they don't know the name of a place. They can describe everything. Like I had somebody go back and he's like, it's ancient because there's thatched roofs, there's the round wood wheels, like the South, pulled by, mules and donkeys. But they didn't have a place. And sometimes they come up with a place and you're like, I've never heard any place like that in my life. So then you go research it. You might find it, you might not. But if you think about if you go back far enough in time, it was a village and maybe it had a name, maybe it didn't, maybe, you have to be careful because I can't say state or country because that might not have any context to that time period that they're in. So I usually say a region. Does your place have a region, or your region have a name, or, is there what do you call your place where you live or something like that? So you keep it pretty open because you don't want to lead the person. For example, I might say, where's the place where you eat and sleep? Because they might not be in a house. It might be something else. So you got to be very careful in how you word things so that you're not leading or suggesting answers for the person.
Fascinating. It's almost like your Bonnie Slykhuis is it's like CSI, past life regression. You have to figure out.
It is.
Right? So that you need to know about all these different time periods and what question do you ask? What kind of floor do you have? Oh, it's dirt. Okay. Now we might be in a certain section of time. Tell everybody your website, how they get in touch with you for a lot of the stuff that you offer?
So it's H3Hypnosis.com. And my wellness center is H2, the number 2, wellness.net. But H3, the number 3, hypnosis.com is for the hypnosis stuff.
And if somebody's interested in past life regression or even Reiki, would they find that information there on the website?
Yeah, the hypnosis, they both websites actually link to each other. So you're going to find us no matter what if you're on that website. If you're looking for Reiki, you'd have to go to the H2, but the hypnosis stuff, the H3 hypnosis, just for our hypnosis stuff.
We have just a minute or so left, but I have to ask you, Bonnie, this has to be so fulfilling for you, how you help somebody based on the things that you've learned, life-changing. When you take somebody back and they realize, oh, that's why I do now what I do because of then. Amazing.
Multiple lifetimes I've come through as a teacher. I have a sister that's come through as a healer in many lifetimes. But this past life thing, and it could actually be very healing. And just real quickly, I had a person that came down and her daughter, and I can't even remember the ailment that she has, but where she has to get nerve blocks because of the pain and she's a high schooler. She just graduated from high school, and she came down, we did a hypnosis session, and it was a lot of release and sad lifetimes. But since she did that over Christmas break, she hasn't had to have any nerve blocks, and she's able to go do some normal activities. And actually her testimonial's out on our website. Her mom posted a testimonial. So it was a huge deal. And so she got, benefits beyond what, most people do.
I love the stories. I love your passion, and I always love talking to you, Bonnie. It's just, that blows me away. I don't know anybody like you. So if you're looking for anything.
Oh, yay. Thank you.
Oh, you're unique. You're very unique. And even the stories like the spear story that you told about that gentleman who experienced pain in his back and that comes from another time literally in his life, or his past life, if you will. Just fascinating. Bonnie, great talking with you again. And one more time on the website. I have the worst memory in the world. What is it?
It's okay. H3Hypnosis.com or H2Wellness.net.
And I'll bet if you did a past life regression on me, you probably figure out why my memory's just not, the best.
You know what? Absolutely.
Maybe back in the day, I had to remember so many different things because, let's see, I was a cobbler in colonial times, and I had so many different clients that they would come in and I have to remember the shoes and everything. It just burned out my brain. I don't know. I'm just making this up, but maybe, hey, you never know.
It was colonial times, I'll bet that.
Yeah, and I love that time. I will catch up again soon. Thanks a lot, Bonnie.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Slykhuis with H3 Hypnosis and the Holistic Health and Wellness Center in Knoxville, Iowa. H3 Hypnosis offers hypnotherapy sessions for people trying to deal with life's issues. We also offer past life regression and comedy stage shows. The Holistic Health and Wellness Center is where we also offer Reiki, massage, certification training classes, workshops, and more.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.